Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another Last Epoch dev stream. As usual, I'm your host, Mike. Hello, how's it going, everybody? Great to see you. Glad to be here. Hope you're having a great day. We're gonna have some fun and play some Last Epoch today. Working on a new character to get going for streams because I feel like we've been playing this one for quite a while and we've been doing pretty good with it, and I'm quite confident with what I was trying to discover by playing this character. So I think we're gonna take a little divergence to a new one here pretty soon. But I did recently get a very significant attack speed upgrade, which helps me survive a lot. So yeah. Welcome to the stream. If you've not been here before, please feel free to ask me any questions you'd like about Last Epoch. And if you want me to answer your question, please put at Last Epoch Game in the question so I see it and I answer it. Woo! Getting a little spicy here. We're still not quite strong enough to empower it on our own, I don't think. My buddy was carrying me through last week. Which, if you're watching, please, I need some more help, bud. And, oh, it's tight. We also stream for charity, which is right above my head, right here. Always above my head. Ooh, nice key. And, I'm realizing that I have to focus a lot on the game when I'm playing Empowered on this character, because it's not very good. Kind of okay, but we're missing a few key things still. I did sell an item on the bazaar just before getting in. Pretty happy with that. Okay. Let's take a peek. I think we got some questions to look at. Can you please tell us about the Weaver faction in the roadmap? We must know. I would love to. A little early to be talking specifics. Unfortunately, I don't have any details on that to share with you today. It is going to be another, there's the basics that I can tell you, but it's kind of nothing information. So it's going to be another faction that appears in this window. Okay. Yeah, we're kind of anemic when we're not in Reaper form, survivability wise, and yeah, so it's gonna be another faction. Shows up in here. I don't know what was in the screenshot exactly. Here, let me bring up the screenshot, and I can talk about stuff that's in the screenshot. All right. I don't know if that tab's gonna open on my main monitor or not. Okay, well, we'll do it here. Forums. Season 2 announcement and beyond. Check out that image. Did we give a specific image for the Weaver itself? For the Weaver faction itself? Have we shown that yet? I'm gonna look back to chat in a second. Let me know if we've shown the actual if we have. Yeah, we haven't shown that yet. Okay. I think the only information we've shared about it is just in the roadmap document that just says there's a Weaver faction. Does Weaver faction tree? There's a tree involved with it. So yeah, there are decisions to make in the Weaver faction itself where you can, there's a tree. That's kind of all the information that's there, isn't it? The Weaver faction tree. This new faction, Weaver, expands the endgame experience by providing the power to augment your monolith timelines during endgame progression. This new faction will be available to all players regardless of their faction alignments, the other faction alignments. So yeah, so it doesn't matter if you've picked Merchant's Guild or Circle of Fortune, it's there. That's something that's going to be a consistent theme going forward, is that new factions we add will yeah, I don't want to say never, but generally the plan is to make them not be linked to each other. So like there's a bucket of the Forgotten Knights is in. It's the only thing in the bucket. And there's a bucket that is item factions, and the only thing in that bucket is Merchant's Guild and Circle of Fortunes. And there'll be a new bucket for the Weaver faction. It's the only thing in that bucket. And we could see a new bucket that might have 3 things or 4 things in it, or we might add things to other buckets. Like we might add things to the Forgotten Knights bucket. There'll be 2 things you have to pick between. You know, like, but for now, it's its own thing. Doesn't matter what else you've taken. It doesn't restrict you from anything else. Everyone just gets it. I don't think we've said much else other than that. That's kind of it. Sorry, I can't go much deeper. But yeah, it's really gonna focus around Endgame. Like that's the. And when I say endgame, like it'll start being relevant, like when you first do your level 58 timeline right here. It's like that's where it starts. So it's like it's really a it's not just like a super, like it does extend into the like the very late endgame, but it is the entirety of the endgame that it affects. Okay, gonna turn off those until tomorrow, sure. Someone's on vacation right now. Oh, I just got popped out of form immediately. I keep forgetting I have to pre-pot to go into combat. That's one of the things I've been struggling with this build, is having to pre-pot just to be able to survive the initial form transformation. Or form transition. What is that? A bunch of mana. Dustio really does do a ton of damage. I'm just so scared to use it. Just because I'm a wuss. I know it. Who cares about that? Alright. Season 2 teaser was hype. Perhaps more spoilers today. I got a couple little things. I got some more nodes to share. I've got a game of spot what's missing. You know, I've got a couple little things. Nothing groundbreaking. But I'm happy to talk design philosophy stuff today if you'd like, because there's been a lot of discussions around that going on lately. Hi Mike, love the game, thank you. And your beard. I just got a new, the wife just picked up a new beard conditioner for me that I love. So it smells great right now. But yes, back to your question, while I be less self-indulgent. I wanted to ask, as a kind of silly lore question, that you might know the answer to, why can the player character only wear 2 magical rings that give stats? Diablo 2's manual had a sentence about which I found weirdly immersive considering the unimportance of it. Also, flail weapons when. Okay, so I have my own personal reason of why this is, because it's something that comes up in a ton of games, as you noted in Diablo as well. I don't know what it says in the Diablo manual, which is something that I will absolutely be going to look up after this, because I didn't know it had a line in there, and you may not know this, but that's one of my favorite games of all time. So the way I've sort of internally rationalized this for forever, basically, in every fantasy situation, is that the power of the rings is so great that if you put 2 of them on your hand at once, it would like just rip your hand apart, because all the power would be like, and your hand would explode. So you don't. And that's sort of the reasoning that I've always had, is that like there's so much power contained in the ring that you can't handle it. And then like the counter to that usually is, okay, well, why didn't you like put one on your toes? And it's like there's something in the way that like energy flows through your body or something that like causes it to only work if it's attached to your hand, because it's too far from your heart and your feet or something like that. You know, like there's some explanations you can do there. I don't have an official real explanation for this, But that's my the way I personally think about it. Oh, come on. Come on. Don't kill me now. I'm having such a good time. One of the advantages of not being able to sing well is you can't ever get struck for singing songs because you don't sound enough like the original. All right, next question. Oh, flail weapons when? Yes, flails. I would love flails. Flails require a new, and this is like my answer to so many questions like this. Flails require a new animation set. Like when you say flail, I assume you mean like the like dangly weighted thing on a chain attached to a small stick type flail. Like I don't know what the technical terms for all those things are. And I think there's another type of flail too that's like slightly different. Anyways, I went lion. The goodness me. Flails require new animation types, so they'll get delayed a little bit. I think they'll likely come. I think most new weapon types will likely come alongside new masteries, because I think that's a really nice way to add in a new weapon type is to have the thematics, and you know there's a lot of nodes that go into passive trees and things like that, and into skill trees that relate to specific weapons. So having those come with new skill trees and new passive trees that you're already making anyways lets you double dip on a lot of the work, which is really important. And so if we had the bulk of the like new uniques, new passive nodes, new skill impact nodes. Ooh, spicy. Ugh. I almost had that one. Oh well. We're like almost able to clear one node on empowered. Like, see, we're just not quite good enough on this character yet, and I'm not quite sure what I'm missing. But we'll give it another try. So yeah, there's flails are on the menu, but I don't think flails are happening anytime. They're not happening in 1.2. I'll tell you that. I just need to be more aggressive and more mobile here. Just keep going. Just be like, my damage will carry me. I just got to make sure I go for it. Auto crits. Oh, no, nothing really. That's okay. Oh, whoa. Okay, more questions. I gotta stop playing empowered because then I can read the questions better. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna stop playing empowered here. Any rework for the Lich plans? I wouldn't say a rework. I think the Lich is thematically and mechanically in actually a pretty good spot. It could use like I think it could use some really key adjustments and some fine tuning that would have a big impact. That's kind of where I'm at with the Lich right now, because I've been playing the Lich a bunch, specifically because I kind of felt like there's something missing and I wasn't sure exactly what it was, and I wanted to get a little bit better first-hand experience on it in the modern Lich playstyle in order to be able to figure out what we should do with it, basically. And I think there's a lot of really good things Lich has going for it. I think it is a ton of fun. I think the big gripe I have with it right now, or the thing I'd like to change is how sort of like on a knife's edge I'm always feeling. And that might be a really positive thing for some people. But I just haven't found a really great way to build it other than on that knife's edge all the time. Like the optimal chess piece for this the optimal chest piece that I should be running is Titanheart. And when I do, here we go. Holding the wrong hotkeys, been playing other games. This is the one I just put away. Oh, what was I wearing? This? No. What was I just wearing? I think it was this. It's got to be that. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, this is what happens when I put on my optimal chest piece. Is my health just drops to 0. And having to pre-pot going into combat. This is what I was talking about, pre-potting going into combat. It's kind of frustrating for me, and I don't like that playstyle that much. Because as soon as I go to form, my health decays and I pop out of form. So I'm like, I have to be leeching immediately or pre-potting. And it's that sort of knife's edge that I'm not hugely a fan of right now. Arrgh. And so I'd like to address that, but I do have a couple nicer chests. I'm really happy with getting that the mana gain on harvest and the bonus damage taken from critical strikes reduction. So like I have my 100% reduced bonus damage taken from crits from my chest and my weapon, which is so nice. And getting that max roll. So I got so lucky. I did this last Friday in the evening, and I found another 1 LP Death Embrace. Oh no, I found a 0 LP Death Embrace, egged it to 1 LP, and then found someone had listed a 96% increased melee attack speed exalted weapon for like 2,000 gold, which is max roll. I couldn't believe it. I snatched it up, went and slammed it. I'm like, there's no way. First try. Oh my god. Got so lucky. Anyways. We're gonna hop out of Empowered because I'm just getting my butt handed to me. I'd like to be able to actually talk to y'all. So that's my favorite part of this. But yeah, I think there's Lich is missing a second option for melee attacks. There's only one right now. Reef doesn't really count. And so you need another option, an alternative option or a complementary option to harvest, I think. And then you also need a little bit less of the, like, it is, I think there needs to be a little bit alternative option for managing health a little bit. And it doesn't have to be an either or, but just like, or it doesn't have to be a replacement, but a little more option that's there. That's what I'd like to see. So yeah, there's room for improvement on Lich. There's room for improvement on all the classes, but I don't think a rework's in order just yet. We've not shared any images of the reflection. Okay, good to know. Thank you. Hey, cutie. Aw. Hope you've been well in season 2. Does Spriggan get a dash ability? Meme question. Jokes aside. With each season adding a faction, will this be a continued trend? Okay, I see. With each season adding a new faction, will this be a continued trend? Or will you have a season with only season mechanics to stop faction bloat? Yeah, I don't think that adding a faction every season is the plan or is necessary even. I think that it's a really good way for us to add frameworks for specific mechanics. And I think once they're in, we can have an entire seasonal mechanic system come in that doesn't need its own faction, but can either like work within the other factions. Like you could spread an entire seasonal mechanic across like 4 factions, and have it still use the faction mechanic, but not need its own new faction. So we're kind of getting to that critical mass of, hey, we need this many. Just check which set that item is. No, I won't want that one. And so, sorry, I guys got distracted. Like, hey, leveled up. And but yeah, I think that you'll see a new faction in this one. I wouldn't be surprised if there were like maybe 1 off, 2 on, 1 off, 2 on for a little while. just until we get up to whatever the amount is that we find is good. And that rate that we are adding them at is going to be re-examined and readjusted every single time we go through and do a new season. So yeah, that's something that's going to change as we go, the rate that we add them at. But it's not a guaranteed every season thing at all. If anything, it will slow down quite a lot. Because as we don't need them anymore. Yeah. Ooh, hello there. Do we have anything that we want with 2 LP on that already? Okay, 0 on this one. Yeah, let's just go for it. Maybe we'll get lucky. Oh, I was also looking at doing one of these, wasn't I? With 0 siphon. Yeah, let's put a siphoning in just because I like it. Why not, right? Not a lot going on elsewise. That's fine though. Yes. Love it. Whoa, get out. Okay, more questions. We like these questions. Are factions going to rotate, or will they coexist continuing? I think it's we don't have any plans to remove any factions. All the factions we're adding are planned to be permanent fixtures. That's not to say that we'll never add a faction that's temporary, but right now the plan is to have them be permanent. And they're being added and designed as permanent things. I think if we were gonna remove one, it would probably need to get replaced at the same time, and it would probably at that point, like, you're probably just reworking an existing one, because like there would have to be a really important reason to brand it as we're removing one and adding a new one rather than just we're reworking it. So it'd have to be a really core change to the game to make that the way we phrased it, I think. All right. This feels great in regular monos. I'm just strong enough to handle everything. All right.
Worthless anyway.
Oh yeah. All right. Next question. Greetings, Mike. Hello. So with the launch of PoE 2, EA, has the team seen anything you guys want to implement in LE? I imagine it's difficult wanting to add something similar without being a direct copy. I mean, there's I think it's really hard to transplant a system from one game to another. I think it's there's some like little things where you're like, oh my god, they do this one thing really well. How can we make that same category of thing feel really good in our game? And it's less about saying like, okay, what have they done to make it feel really good over in there so that we can take that and do the same thing in ours, but more just like, how do I feel when I'm interacting with that thing in theirs, and how do I feel when I'm interacting with the thing in ours? And independently of what they've done, how can we make ours invoke the same feeling or even better feeling if we can? So it's I think it's less about looking at what we can take, but more looking at like what areas do we feel we can improve ourselves in. I think it's a good way of putting it. And yeah, there definitely are things. I think they're like a lot of the presentation stuff they do is so cool. There was one thing when I was playing that I saw it happened, and I was like, oh my god, that's brilliant. I can't believe we never thought to do that. I don't think the system's set up where we can do that. And I was just crushed. I'm like, oh no, I don't like the rework level required to do it would be so huge that it's just like, I'm not even gonna try. And it's so simple and so basic that you're like, it's the pinning of tooltips on the screen, where you can take a tooltip and like, I think you hold Alt and it like stays on screen for a second, and there's like a little pin icon that shows up in the top right corner of it, and you click on that, and you can like then the tooltip stays as a window on your screen, and you can move that around, and like just that little thing. I spend a lot of time working on our tooltips and our UI, so like of course that's the type of thing I latch onto, but like that little those attention to detail and things like that really impressed me a lot, and that happened, and I'm like, oh my god. But yeah, I don't, with the way our tooltips are set up, we have to completely redo our entire tooltip system to make that even be a possibility. And it's frustrating that I don't think we can do it. Even though I would love to. Alright. Not really my department anymore, so. You get anything? Ooh, crit chance! I'll take it. Not the LP we'd like, but without looking up what I should put in there, crit chance is probably one of the things that comes to mind as a good option.
It eludes me.
Worst case scenario, very generically useful on a very generically useful ring. Ooh, Ring of Ascendance, get it. Okay.
Will not take me.
More questions. Just gonna take a sec. Hello! If you have a minute, could you please explain what happens to skill tree sub-skills when taking a damage type conversion? For example, Smite's lightning bolts and Smite's void conversion in the Void Knight skill tree, please and thank you. It does what it says it does. If it doesn't say it does something, it doesn't do that thing. So there's, I believe in that instance right now, in the live version of the game, the sub skill does not change. It stays lightning damage. It does not change to void damage. Now we are kind of in the process of trying to make it more intuitive, and having those things not convert is not very intuitive. Which is why you're having to ask this question. It's a good question, first of all. And I'd really like to make it so that in almost every situation, like the default expected behavior is when you convert a skill, it converts the sub skills, because that's just like obvious, right? Like, love it when it's just the one thing on there. But it's a bad mod, so probably why it wasn't highlighted. Anyways, so going forward, newer conversions, when we're setting up a conversion on a skill tree, we do also convert the sub skills. And we have been going back and converting lots of sub skills for older skills. I know that this was, I don't know if it happened or not. I know this was at least a item that got added to a task at some point, and I don't know if it was finished or not yet. So I don't want to say it's coming, but it's definitely at least on the radar. This specific one, and the whole issue is also on the radar. So the ones that do convert now will actually say in the conversion, or they'll say in the sub-skill node. So in the sub-skill node, they'll say converts to cold if you take the cold conversion node, if you hold the alt tooltip. So check in this case, the lightning bolt node, check, hold alt and see if it says this gets converted or not. If it doesn't say it gets converted, it doesn't get converted. But going forward, new ones and existing ones that we will be converting over to make it so that they do by default get converted. because it's one of those things where it's like, if you're gonna convert the skill, you probably want the sub skill converted too, and not converting the sub skill makes it enough of a nombo with the conversions that we don't like nodes that are mutually incompatible with each other. Mutually exclusive nodes are not awesome if we can avoid them, which is something we're trying to whittle down in general. So that's something to keep an eye out for in the future. Ooh. Just have a lot of Weaver's Will. Is that all that was? I mean, adding a bunch of ward to this build might actually be a good way to do it. It does kind of put a bunch of ward on us, doesn't it? Just after we got a decent one of these, do we just take it off and just slap this on and see if we like having a bunch of ward? So this gives us a bunch of leech. We have a ton of leech coming from everywhere already. It gives us some movement speed, which will not be awesome to lose, but we do have a fair bit of it. Let's give it a shot. Just see how that plays. All right. Hello. Your current ward is less than your missing health. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I guess we do leech a lot. That might not work well for us. We'll see. PS5 when? I mean, it's definitely on the radar at this point. It is, you know, so Xbox and PlayStation are definitely places we're looking right now to expand into. It's not in active development at the moment, but you know, we're getting close to it, to doing that sort of thing. And even normal avalanche wrecks me. Did I misread that item? I really should know what it does. I think I implemented it. All right. Console stuff. Yeah, console. I think the work we're doing with controllers is a prelude to that, and there's a bunch of work with controllers coming through next in 1.2. Most notably, skill targeting. Skill targeting in 1.2 is going to be way better on controller. Situations where you're like, why does my skill target in a super dumb way? You won't be asking that question as much anymore. Hopefully at all, really. Oh, pretend missing mana. Yeah, I read that wrong. Fine. Always do that. We're putting here because it is kind of nice. Is it planned to have a cycle once every 3 to 4 months, or will we wait 6 to 8 months for a cycle? I don't have a set timeline on what it's going to be going forward. Obviously, we want to get them out in a regular fashion, and we want to get it out as quickly as possible. But I think what happens at the end of 1. Like what happens with 1.2 is going to dictate that timeline pretty heavily. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I did. Here we go. Oh, I got a second roll on the crit, so that's nice. These ones. Yeah, T5 sealed. That's still cool. Oh, come on. Yeah. I think having a 3 to 4 would be ideal. I think that would be the, like, if we could just say what we wanted to have happen, that would be what would happen. But we have to be realistic on if we can. I think if we can deliver the quality of patches that people want in that time frame, I think we can do it. I think the framework that 1.2 is going to set up is really going to allow us to do that nicely. All right. After playing a few other ARPGs recently, I gotta say LE is well placed with combat and does a great job at leading the player into the next quest or zone. Keep up the great work at making a well thought out, enjoyable game. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. And he plans to make Lich a dual weapon class, like a dual wielding weapon class. Not specifically. I think there's room for it, but I don't think it's top priority at the moment. I know the model is like, it's kind of weird being like, okay, well the model has 2, my character only has 1. What gives, you know? That's a little weird. I think resolving that disconnect would be a nice touch. All right, taking him down, no problem. Getting it done. Okay. Please, if you have a question, don't forget to put at Last Epoch Game in the question so I know you want me to answer it. And you know what? Let's start off with a little teaser. A little teasery tease. Oh yeah, it's a good one. Okay. Here is a passive node, upcoming passive node for, I believe, Forge Guard? Question mark? Paladin. It's Paladin. I can read it. It's tiny. Teeny little preview window. Read a question off at the same time here. Oh, here's a question. One thing that is missing in PoE2 and LE are powerful builds. I'm sure that LE with several powerful builds would be played much more. After all, the endgame in LE is infinite, so it doesn't make sense to limit builds. Do you have plans for significant buffs to help us reach a corruption much higher than what the meta builds can reach today? Not really. I'd push back on the premise of your question quite heavily. I think there are several builds that are just very significant outliers in the power range that are very powerful builds. And I think we probably have kind of the opposite problem where there's too many builds that are too powerful right now. But I mean, it's kind of all relative, right? But yeah, there's quite a few builds in LE that are like really, really powerful. So yeah, I we're always looking to add more fun ways to build your characters and new ways to like explore the possibilities in different builds and things like that. So yeah, there's going to be a bunch of new builds that do pop up when 1.2 goes live. So there's going to be tons of fun stuff to experiment with at that point. Next question. Hello, Mike. With the release of PoE 2, excellent game, I noticed how much I enjoy Last Epoch crafting system, and I've seen a lot of Reddit Discord discussion and appreciation of LE's crafting system. Looking forward to 1.2 and what's in store for the crafting system. Yeah, there is some good stuff in store for the crafting system too. I think that we do a lot of really good things right, and a lot of things that we could do better in our crafting system for sure. I think there's let's put that out of the way and we'll keep going. I think our crafting system does a lot of really nice things. I think there's one big how do I say this? The flow in our crafting system sometimes has some longer plateaus than we'd like. There's some points where you might hit a, like, here's a perfect example. Here's like the quintessential example. I hit this amazing 1 in 4 roll on an absolute max rolled of the most important stat. So the number one stat I can have on this weapon is 96% increased melee attack speed. That is the absolute best thing I can have on it, period. There is nothing better. Now, a 96% increased melee attack speed and something else is better, but that's the best stat. So if I go to, if I get a 2 LP Death's Embrace and I go to slam some exalteds on it and make a legendary out of it, there's a, like, even if it's a 2 LP, there's a 50-50 shot that I get something that is actually worse. And this feeling of your now, the item itself in a vacuum of what that item is when it has 2 LP and how much damage that item does when it has 2 LP before it's been slammed, and what that item is and how much damage it does after it's been slammed, even though it missed the ideal affix roll. Hypothetical situation, the 2 LP misses the affix we want, we get something else. It is actually still a better item than it was as far as how much damage it can deal. But because you already have a 1 LP version that has the better stat on it, that is a better item because it has the better stat, because that one perfect stat is worth more than the second and third best stat combined, let's say, but it probably isn't the second and third best stat combined. It's probably more like the 5th and 10th best stat combined type thing because of how that goes. So 2 mediocre stats do not equal 1 amazing stat. And so you get these situations where you're in a 50-50 roll for an upgrade or not, and you have to sacrifice your 2 most valuable items to make that roll. And sometimes you get an item that's not an upgrade. And I think that's the key point where the crafting system struggles a little bit, and which is the key point that we are looking at to improve the system. Because we want to have, we want forward progress to remain. It doesn't need to be really substantial forward progress, and it doesn't need to be like perfectly deterministic forward progress, but forward progress still happening is important. And so there's a lot of different ways we examined having this happen. Ways that you could, where you're either like not losing the item. So like you can, so we looked at options for, and I want to be clear, I'm not saying what we're doing to the crafting system to make changes yet, because it's not fully implemented and we're still tinkering with it and tweaking numbers and experimenting and deciding exactly how we want to roll out. But there's a few options and ways we've come at the problem that I can sort of talk about because they're just theoretical stuff. So there's this idea of you can kind of make the process. So you've got your cost, you've got your LP item, your 2 LP item, hypothetical 2 LP item, or 3 LP items. It happens with 3 LP as well. It hurts even more with the 3 LP ones because you're like, it's only a 1 in 4 chance to fail, and then when it fails, you're like really gutted, and it's an even bigger investment because you dropped a 3 LP instead of a 2 LP. So there's some issues there with how it feels. And which is arguably the most important thing, which is how it feels. And so there's a few things you can do. You can make the item itself, the failed item, you can make the failed item still have some sort of value. So you get 2LP1, you slam it, it fails, it gets the wrong stats, something that item can still be used for. So let's say there's a new how about a new crafting thing? I'm just like thinking of other games now. So like the example, like say you could salvage items, which you can't in Last Epoch, and we're not doing, but just as a hypothetical example, you can salvage it and you get a very expensive rare crafting material from salvaging 2 LP legendary items. So it's this item that you've made legendary, and because you've salvaged it, you get something that's really valuable out of it, like a rune or something. I don't know. This is, I don't know if you can tell, but we're not doing this one. You're like a rune of research or a rune of creation if you salvage a 4 LP crafted into a legendary or something. I don't know. There's having a salvage system where the item is not completely useless after it's been bricked or failed. It's kind of one option there. Another option you can look at is a way to refund or undo part of it. So let's say you have a 2 LP weapon and you have the Exalted, you slam it, it doesn't work. Maybe you're just like, oh, no, thank you. And you just like, give me back the LP item, and like the Exalted's gone. So you just like, you brick the Exalted, but you keep the item. And this is kind of what Diablo 2 does when you're making a rune word. If it rolls bad, you can Hell Rune, TP Scroll, throw it in the cube, and you get the base item back, and the runes all go poof. This lets you re-roll rune words in D2, which is really important to be able to do sometimes, because there's a few situations where the base is actually worth more than the runes going into it. Like a spirit shield that you really want the perfect FCR on. That 4-socket Monarch shield, if it's got good stats, is worth more than the Talthal or Am going into it by a lot. So I rerolled tons of spirit shields. And yeah, so there's other options where you can increase the determinism of the actual crafting process itself. And so those are kind of the 3 main axes that you can approach it at, I think. And there's some other options too that we're looking at, and it's tricky to get feel dialed in really well. And sometimes it's a thing that kind of manifests after you've done it 20 times, you know? And so we have been, that's one of the reasons why we've been increasing our testing duration for patches, getting things out to CTs, sooner, locking down our patch times way earlier than before. Like it's every patch, the last like 4 patches, we've increased the time where we're like, okay, content lock now before the patch. We've increased it by a couple weeks every single time for the last few major patches. And it's been very helpful every time, so we keep increasing it, and it keeps getting better and better, which is great. I know it's frustrating that like it means that, yeah, there's a little bit more time between patches coming out, but the game's better for it, I think, overall. I think people will, in the end, appreciate playing a better game more than playing a worse game sooner. I could be wrong about that, but that's how I feel about it right now. Oh my goodness, why am I not leeching? Because I'm an idiot, that's why. It's fine, don't worry about it. Shh, didn't say anything. And yeah, we do also, I think there's been a lot of really good discussion around specific runes and glyphs and changes to existing runes and glyphs that can happen as well. And so we are taking the opportunity to make some adjustments there as well. I'm not going to talk about specifics there at all, but there will be some new runes and glyphs showing up, and adjustments to some existing ones as well. Like, yeah, there's there's improvements to the crafting system coming that I think are really exciting. And then there's also, you know, other things for crafting that's happening too. That's kind of going to be a surprise, and I don't want to talk too much about it, but there's other stuff for crafting that's also coming. Give me a sweet, sweet. I was gonna say double health idol, but no. Yeah, that's fine.
Worthless, anyway.
Yep, that's the portal button in that other game I've been playing.
That is
I do that. I try and set my hotkeys up the same game to game, but there's like certain functions that are, you have like more buttons in one game than in another, and sometimes you like, so you move buttons around and you get confused. All right, how do you feel about interactive puzzles within echoes of which are not necessarily obvious or needed to complete the mission, but when found and completed, the player's effort can be rewarded? I think in theory I really like it. And I don't know how I'd want to implement it in Last Epoch, and I'm assuming this is in reference to PoE, which I haven't got there yet in PoE 2 because I am so slow. Maybe that kind of literally, I don't know why, but I could not find movement speed boots to save my life. I feel like I'm running at warp speed after the boots I found last night. Oh my god. But yeah, I think there's room for puzzles. I think this is one of those weird character player disconnects that can happen. So I'm gonna tell a little story about D&D actually. One of the first campaigns I ever ran as a DM for D&D, one of the only campaigns I ever ran. I've only ever done it 3 times, but one of the first, I guess the second of the 3 that I've done, the second one. I got really into the puzzle thing. I really like making puzzles for people to figure out, and not just in like a D&D concept. Just like I really like puzzles, like making puzzles and like riddles and things like that. So I was like, oh my god, I've been given a platform where I can make puzzles and riddles for people, and they're incentivized to try and figure them out. I have a captive audience for people to solve my puzzles and riddles. Oh my god, yes. And I went a little overboard on the puzzles and the riddles in a D&D campaign. Not crazy. We talked about it afterwards and they really enjoyed it, but like while it was happening, I could see the mistakes I had made. And I think the disconnect happens when you have characters in a setting where the character is really, really, really dumb, and you've got players that are really, really, really smart, or the opposite too works. But let's pretend the players are the smart ones just to be nice. And so you're like. You got this dumb character who should never be able to figure out this puzzle, but because the player who's sitting at the table is really smart, they're able to figure out the puzzle. And it's like, okay, so should the game character be able to leverage the player's brain power to overcome this challenge? Not really. Okay, then what if the flip side's true? What if the character in the game is super, super smart, but the player just can't figure out the puzzle? Should you just roll some dice and you're like, okay, great, my character figured out the puzzle because my character's super duper smart, and that's not really engaging gameplay. And so there's kind of this disconnect in role-playing games when you have the player figuring out puzzles that the character doesn't, or the character figuring out puzzles that the player doesn't. And I think it's much less of a big deal in ARPGs, that disconnect. I think that disconnect kind of vanishes a lot in an ARPG. And so I do really like puzzles like that to figure out myself. I don't know how I'd best want to implement something like that in Last Epoch. But I think used appropriately and used probably sparingly, it could be a really positive experience. And I think we kind of do some little things with that, like there's nothing really major. I mean, it's just like even just like individual mechanics in a boss fight kind of like lean into that a little bit. So I do think we use it a touch, and I think we could use it more very successfully if we did. Yeah. I did really enjoy the PoE 1 puzzles that were there. I really liked I really enjoyed doing them without trying to leverage like invulnerability mechanics or crazy teleports and things like that. Like actually playing through them, I really enjoyed that part of them. And I know I'm weird with things like that, so you know. All right, one thing that is killing my enjoyment of PoE 2 is that let's try not to be negative. I'll read this question out, but just in general, if I like being positive, that sort of thing. One thing that's killing my enjoyment of PoE 2 is that I'm getting legendaries I can't use. LE also has a lot of RNG, but not to that degree. Any plans on making the drops a little more class specific in LE next season, especially for SSF players? Thanks, keep up the good work. We don't know. The short answer is no, we don't. We right now in Last Epoch, we heavily weight the class specific drops for relic, chest, and helmet for non-unique items. So unique set legendary items do not have any sort of class weighting on them. But like for exalteds, which are a big part of your character build and character crafting and build crafting situation, those do go through very heavy weighting for the class you're playing already. I think there's going to be more ways in 1.2 to customize the loot you're finding in general, but it won't just be a straight it's class locked now. But you will be able to affect the loot you're getting more granularly than you are now. So you'll be able to do that if you want better than you can now. Better is the wrong word. More to a greater degree than you are able to now. But it's not. We're not just going straight class locked. What's your most anticipated part of 1.2? The endgame updates. It's it's so great. Just know we've been working on them for a long time before we saw PoE 2. Hi, will there be an option in the future to give the twink character experience? I'm asking because experience drops in the endgame. Experience drops in the endgame. Maybe you could give it to the two twinks. Oh, the tomes that drop. I mean, I think we really heavily buffed twinking characters for leveling process when we removed the level restrictions added from exalted items being crafted onto legendaries. So now when if you take an item that has like an item level of a 0, it gets 4 LP, and you slap an exalted on it that has an item level requirement of like 90. Previously the new legendary would have a level requirement of 90, but now it just keeps its 0 level requirement. So you get these unbelievably mega powerful items for characters that you can just cruise through the early games. If you're building alts and you're twinking out low level characters, things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of really powerful options for it. And also now that you can gain access to all of your blessings that you've unlocked, all the discovered blessings. I've not done many of these. Done each of them like once. Okay, there we go. So all of these blessings, if I started a new character and I did this timeline one time, I'd be able to equip any of these blessings at minimum roll. So yeah, we definitely have given a lot of buffs to twinking characters. We're also changing some dungeon stuff to improve that as well. There's a bunch of things in the leveling experience we're changing at the same time. So yeah, we're doing some stuff, but cranking up experience gain is not something we're really super on about. Have you thought about moving the forging system onto multiple NPCs in town? What? Have you thought about moving the forging system? Oh. No. Oh, that took me way too long to get. I think this is okay, so it's a shot of Huey too. I don't I don't like comparing systems so directly like this, because things that work well in one game don't necessarily work well in another game, you know. But no, we haven't. Yes, we have considered that actually. We spent a long time considering that. It almost happened. We decided against it. You know, it's not. I don't want to say we made the absolute right decision, because, you know, that would mean that there was never any consideration to changing it. I don't think that you can let a game grow and evolve and improve with being closed-minded on things like that. So I mean, it's yeah. All right, Mike, I've turned on my second brain cell. Woohoo! Double power. And made a rogue casting smite on top of my bleed build. I could not figure out my smite damage no matter how hard I tried, but it felt okay. Any plans to develop more on cross-class interactions? Maybe a ways to see DPS on non-selected class skills. I would. Can you not see? If you hold Alt on the thing giving you the smite, it should show you the DPS that it does, because it is a class skill, and that calculation should still work. There's definitely a push to improve the DPS and just data displayed to the player in general. I think that's like, I know PoE2's, it's new, it's hot, so we can talk about it a lot. And that's one thing that they do extremely well, is the data they provide to the player is so complete and so well done, as far as like the like that's one of the strengths they have, I think, is the amount of data that they do display. And yes, that is something we are looking to improve, is what data we show, how we show it, and the accuracy of that as well. That's been something we've been working on for a long time, though. And I think this is, seeing it done well is like reaffirming that it is something that can be done really well. And we knew it could be done really well. Oh! No way, it hasn't gone off yet. Oh boy. I think I need to turn on my second brain cell. We're not huge on the cross-class stuff like that, but it's not out of the question in general. But yes, we do want to provide better data to players. Do you personally prefer monks in fantasy setting being more religious, holy fanatic type, or martial artist, or them being more a grounded, in tune with nature type of martial artist, or both, considering the possibilities of masteries? If we're talking about like how it would be implemented in Last Epoch, I would much rather see monk as a mastery of a hand-to-hand base class than I would as monk as the base class with offshoots on it. I think having it be a mastery would be more interesting than having it be a base class. Personally, I really like seeing monks focused on having kind of two sides to it, having it be a martial arts and the spirituality that goes with it. I don't think it necessarily needs to be holy theming. Did you say holy? You may not have even said holy. Oh, you said holy fanatic. Yeah, I prefer spiritual than holy when it comes to monk theming, personally, because there's so many. I don't know. Maybe this is just like my stuff leaking in. When I hear the term holy, I immediately go to like a Catholic holy thoughts. of like that's the sort of like we're fixing on a single religion here. And I know it doesn't mean that, but that's sort of like, I guess, like I had Catholic grandparents, so like that's the religion that comes to mind first. Even though I think after the first time they took me to church and I wouldn't sit still, they never took me again, and that was that, which is great. But yeah, I guess that's where I would go with it, and I think spiritual would be the term I would use, but I would like them to be. I do feel like they need to have a spiritual theme to them. All right, hi Mike. I have a question regarding shock and chill. They have such a hard limit and don't offer much benefit other than very few nodes and even less items. So it feels bad to get them to drop as exalts. Any plans to rework them or add more utility? Not really. We've started working in electrify and frostbite as more stackable damage dealing ailments to go to complement them a little bit more, and there are more things that do play off of them and more things that apply them and scale off them and scale them and things like that play with them. There are things in all of those categories that are coming for both shock and chill. Some of those will be in 1.2, some of them will be after 1.2. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing that there are some exalts that are less exciting to get as the exalted affixes than others. I think that's a good thing, where there's like some that are maybe where you're kind of like, it's kind of useless as an exalted, but it's still funny that it's there. And others where you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. And I think having that distinction is a good thing to have. But then at the same time, also getting like a huge shock exalted affix on like a low level item, on a low level legendary can be surprisingly functional and strong leveling, I think.
Will not take me.
Ooh, what did I just click on? Okay, hi Mike. All right, that's it. Where do you stand on new class releases? Would you release one as content, DLC, expansion only? Any new classes in the works you can tease? I mean, yeah, we don't have any new classes that are ready for, or even like being worked on really. We're still operating on our 5 classes, our 5 classes. We've done some early work on some specific things we want to have added to new classes. I would say I have a very good idea on what the first new mastery class will be. I have a moderately good idea what the second new mastery class will be. I do not know what the first new base class will be. These are all things that we are planning on doing. They're a little ways out still. How they get added, like what circumstance they get added in, I do not know how we would structure that really. I know we're really not huge on splitting the player base on something like that. If we can avoid it, that is always something we try and avoid. Splitting the player base is not great. Have you thought about releasing content in pieces instead of one huge update? Feel that would help keep players more engaged with the game. Thanks for answering. Love your game. Yes, we have looked at that, and most of the feedback we've gotten is, I mean, we did a small release of content, and it's not even really considered as content by most people. So I mean, the feedback's kind of telling us it's not super effective. But yeah, that's not to say that it's a never again type thing. We are always looking at ways to increase the the productivity of certain pipelines, like ways we can make creating new content for pipelines faster, smoother, easier. And as that happens, as there's like certain pipelines become like really fast and easy to add things to, it makes it a lot more enticing to be like, okay, we're going to like, oh, if we can take 4 people, put them in a bubble, and they'll be able to pump out like, I don't know, 2 new skills for a class and 5 new unique items, and be like, here's like a little mini patch of like cool stuff. And if we can do that in a short period of time or something, that like might become an option down the road. It's not really an option right now. They're the same shrine twice. That's funny. Stay alive. Stay on target. Woohoo! Hey, a 1 LP tree. This has got to have been one of the most internally controversial items in the game. I know it sounds ridiculous, but the illusory tree, when hit, that gets summoned. We've been so deeply divided internally on what that should look like. It's so funny. Let's pop up another little teaser here. A little teasery tease. Bada boom. This is the paladin one. Wait, the last one was paladin 2. There's 2 paladin things. Woohoo! Paladin's getting stuff. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of work on Sentinel in general. Hopefully there will be a good update for Forge Guard. Sentinel in general. Yeah, here we go. Sentinel in general is getting a lot of stuff. So hopefully there'll be a good update for Forge Guard, since that is my go-to class. There's just not enough variety on this build, and they are not that enjoyable on the endgame. Maybe have manifest armor to consume forged weapons to deal more damage. I know that this game has the potential to be the best. Much love from the Philippines. What you just described will not be in 1.2. Hi Mike, let's keep up the PoE 2 questions. After playing PoE 2, what is your main thing you saw there that you enjoyed a lot more than LE? Not saying it was bad, just that you like it better than LE. Besides crafting, because that is obvious. Playing LE, what's the main thing that you enjoyed a lot more in LE? Okay, so something I like more in LE than in PoE 2. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I really enjoy our crafting system a lot. I think and this is one of those things that I think it's just because I'm so used to it in LE, because I play so much more of it, and work on it all the time, and you know, like it's the way the evade, and the roll, like, cause ours just kind of like just lets you kind of go through stuff, and they did make a huge change, and it when they shrink the player size to 0 when it happens, which is and the distinction on going through people or not with evade or roll is something we tweaked with and toyed with for a very long time, and the early versions of it that we had wouldn't let you go through enemies, and I think it was CT feedback that caused us to make it go through enemies. Thanks to the timestamp game, and so I think that's, and I remember being on the very much in the camp of, hey, it shouldn't let you go through enemies. But now that after playing with it for a long time, I think I prefer going through enemies. So it's a really delicate balance thing, and I think it's one of those things that changes really heavily based on what game it's in. And I think I'm going to eventually like it a lot more in PoE 2, not going through enemies always, but just like kind of sometimes like going around them a little bit, with the way they have it now, basically, because I think it fits a lot better in their game that way. But that's something I'm struggling to get used to, mostly just because I think I'm just so used to it in LE the way it is. And I realized I was evading around with something on the screen. Sorry, I was just doing that for myself. Yeah, that's the big thing for me, really. Yeah. Will Lizard Tails have a use in season 2? I don't think so. I think that got cut. I don't know though, I'm sorry. Tell us what the next masteries and classes are without telling us what the next masteries and classes are. Well, one of them is going to be for a pretty sweet class that's going to be a new take on the overall theme. And then another one of them is going to hit some new playstyle feels. I can't say anything really. They're quite a ways out. Like, we haven't started working on them yet. The reason I say I know which ones they are is because there's one that we've had planned for years. That we're like, this is it. Like, it got cut from it almost made it in to be one of the original 3 early on, and like it just barely didn't make the cut. And we're like, okay, well, if we're not doing it now, we're gonna do it later, type thing. So it's been like that forever. You know, that sort of thing. They're not. I don't want you to think, because I know what they are going to be, that they're going to be that it's like made any sort of significant progress or anything like that. So what are you saying is Barbarian Mastery is coming? I would love a Barbarian Mastery. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I've been playing Warrior in PoE 2. That's the main one I've been playing. Which I think hits a lot of the same vibe notes that we'd be trying to go for if we were going to do a Barbarian Mastery. I loved playing Barbarian in D2. It's one of my favorites. Oh, I'm just getting nuked. Okay, let's go find these things. More questions. I can do it. I am Groot. Yes, you are. In your opinion, when adding notable new content into a game, do you want each new addition to feel like a continuation of what you had previously been established, or do you prefer the content to feel like an addition that expands upon existing content but adds new branches? I'm gonna read that one again because I'm not sure I understood it. Hey, Kermot's Cage. That was one I made for a buddy of mine. What is this? Don't want that. Got a little bump there. Oh. This is why I'm not playing it empowered right now. Okay, can I... We've been out of combat long enough? Yeah, okay, good. Alright, in your opinion, when adding notable new content into a game, do you want each new addition to feel like a continuation of what has previously been established, or would you prefer the content to feel like an addition that expands upon existing content but adds new branches? Those feel like the same thing to me still. I don't understand the distinction. It feels like you're saying, do you want a new car, or would you like a vehicle that has 4 wheels and travels on the road? I think it depends. I think if you're in a situation where the base storyline is like completed and we're talking about story content type thing, I think having having a new call to action, like a new start of a new hero's journey, is a good thing. I think if we're talking about like mechanical content, I think having it be as tied into what's existing already as possible is a really positive thing. But it depends on the scope there as well. I don't know. I think it's the answer is just it depends. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, I'm struggling with that one. If anyone does have any questions they'd like answered, please put at Last Epoch Game in the question, so I'll answer it. I haven't said that in a while. Just cruising with this. All right, let's go. Can I just run? I'll take it. I love getting the skill shrines that are a skill you've invested in. Feels amazing. Didn't need that. There's one skill shrine that bothers me so much though, still, is the and I think everyone's experienced it at this point. We know it's a problem, is the Phoenix. Will we have any engine updates before season 2? Yes, we came extremely close to pushing out the engine update last week, actually. And someone found a bug at the last second, and we're like, all right, hold. But yeah, it's coming soon. I think it's gonna be, because the studio closes in for the last week or so of December, and a lot of us are terrible at taking vacation throughout the year, and we all take it in December because we're like, oh, we didn't take our vacation this year at all, so we're like, oh, more time in December. Like I'm off right now technically, and so yeah, I think we're gonna wait until we're all back in the office in January to push that out. Without giving us spoilers though, you can if you want to. What new things are you most excited about for season 2? Yeah, it's I did this didn't come up already, so I'll keep it short. Is the Endgame, is the monolith updates. It's I think, the biggest criticism we get about Last Epoch, which is I'm not arguing against you at all, which I think is very heavily reflected in what we're doing in 1.2. Is that the endgame can, especially for like veteran players that have played Last Epoch for years, have gone through the endgame a few times. They've experimented with most of the classes. There's not a ton of like variety of activities to do in the endgame, and I think that might get oversimplified a little bit when being discussed on forums and Reddit and stuff like that. But it is still a fair criticism, is that the end game feels a little empty. And I think there's this like behemoth of amazing end game content that is being compared to, which I like love that we're being compared to Path of Exile at all. It is a tricky comparison to survive. In a like a debate situation, if that makes any sense. And so yeah, we're really focusing on making that debate a lot less clear cut, and so we're adding a ton of new activities to do in the end game, and it's a lot of fun having different stuff to do. So that's what I'm most excited about, is new cool stuff to do. Okay. Do you know how close? Do you know close to how many new uniques are in season 2? The uniques are mostly not done yet. Uniques get done quite late in the production timeline compared to other stuff. So I don't yet. There are there's things. So I've been working on a post 1.2 project for a while now, and there's things that I've been trying to add to that keep getting poached for uniques, in a good way. But yeah, there's a chunk. I feel like every time we've done a major patch, we've added a very substantial number of new uniques. All right. What did I get? Oh, nice. Let me. More questions. You can do it, Mike. Don't give in to the temptation of playing the video game that's in front of you. Oh. Did I just rip my weapon out of my own hands? And that's how you see there's like a lock button that shows up next patch, and you're like, oh, we know how that happened. Okay. What do we got? I was confused there for a second because I'm like, didn't I just do that one? But it just had an item of the same base type in that same third slot for 2 in a row. Don't hate that at all, though. All right. Oh, I was caught up and it was auto-scrolling. Oh no. If I missed your question, I apologize. Do you answer that? Okay, it didn't skip any. Woohoo! Will we be able to utilize affix shards more in the future? Yes. They seem not that important in the endgame, since you would want a T6, T7 of what affixes you need. Yes, I agree. I think there's a lot of uses for them for sure, in that you can, like, you are. Well, first of all, we do plan to add in an affix exchange system where you can be like, okay, I've got 20 of these affixes that I never use and are super common, and I've got this affix I've been hunting for and I've got none of them. You'd be like, exchange them. I'll take the loss, but 20 of useless for 1 of useful is good. I don't know what the rate would be, but there'd be some at a loss exchange. I'm using a pretty extreme ratio just so that I don't get people's hopes up, because it'll probably be less than that, but I don't know what it would be. To give you more useful affixes, because there are some affixes that you're like, even if I just get 1 tier of it, it's useful. And I think there's a lot of subtleties in the crafting system when you're making good exalted items that make affixes quite useful to have. Also in leveling as well, they're very useful. There are some more ways we're looking to leverage some affix shards. I think you'll see those more in future patches. I think affix shards are going to shift, and have been slowly shifting more to be a resource rather than an item. And I think as that shift happens, we're going to start using them more as resources. Which I think will be a really good thing overall. Because as we get more... shards were playing the role of... universally useful, infrequent item drops that were not equipment. That you would see like currency items in PoE 1 and PoE 2. They were kind of filling that same role a little bit, because we didn't have very many, like a very big variety of glyphs and runes, especially at the start when there was like 2 glyphs and 4 runes. That's I think what we launched with. Affix shards were kind of filling that role quite a lot. And I think we're getting to the point now where we've got more shards. Or sorry, we do have way more shards. But more glyphs and runes and more other items that fit into that like non-equipment monster drop exciting item type category. The keys are the first basic version of that, but then there's like other things that we're adding as well, like eyes and harbinger eyes and other things that might be coming. And so there's as we get more things in that category and like more runes and more more glyphs, shards can transition out of that role more and more and become more of a resource, I think. So I think you'll start seeing them used differently as we go forward. But yeah, just getting the right like I think very rarely you get multiple exalted affixes of affixes you really want on a single item. And having the affix, having the shards to modify that item to still hit all the other things you want it to do, I think is really really important, really positive. Does it go any higher anywhere? Speaking of, can I do this? No, it's or we're maxed out. Here's an example. Haha! I actually really need this. Beauty. I need those shards. I need to get up higher. It's yeah, like this is the exact time we're having an exchange for this would be amazing. Like I would trade 50 health shards for this. And health shards would be a more valuable one. Ooh, I have enough. I can do this. Cool. For continuation, oh, this is the different styles of adding new content. For continuation, think of the first episode of a show that recaps what happens last season, and then a new season feels as though you're resuming where you left off. For branches, sticking with TV reference, think spin-off show where the general theme of the show are there. The setting direction content is brand new experience. I hope that clears up my previous statement. It does. That is a fantastic analogy. Thank you. I think my answer still kind of stands though. I think both of those are valid approaches for different types of content. I think we will probably leverage both in different ways going forward. Right now, we're probably more looking at the continuation aspect of things, especially for the extra chapter content that still is to come. So the next chapter will be a direct continuation. It'll be a last time on. Remember what happened? Just kidding. That's not actually what happened. It's almost what happened, but here's a slight little tweak to the story. And then we're continuing because we have to tweak it a little bit to make it flow nicely into the next chapter. But yeah. Yeah, we'll be a straight continuation for a couple, 3 chapters, I think, left? Question mark? There's some new tech we've got coming down the pipe that we're going to see a little bit of in 1.2 that's going to increase the speed at which we can make new like zone, like area content. Like we only have of the level design team we have since day one has doubled in size. There's now 2 of them. It may actually triple. There might be a 3rd person now. It might be tripled in size. But my point is, there's not a lot of people there. So there's, we have been working on a lot of tools to make that process faster, and just crank out a lot like higher quality content for less effort. At least that's just faster, really. And I think a lot of the improvements that have been coming down the pipe in that category have been very successful. And so we're going to see some of that in 1.2, and then we're going to leverage that going forward a lot to make more content faster. All right, when will we get more bee support? I found I thought it was gone. It's not gone. Hey, I found it. I'll wear it again sometime properly for a stream. Love that thing. I was not pleased with the one I made for this year's Halloween, the ladybug one. I thought the bee one was way better, and I'm glad I found it. I found it this morning actually. When will we get more bee support? Will there be first mastery be bee master? And know that players will all feel sad if you say no. I'm sorry to make you feel so sad. I don't think it will be a bee master. I think we'll see some new bee related content happening. I can see, I know there was a set item we started at one point, and then we put sets on hold. There's been a few other things as well. I love the bee. Kind of started as a meme, and it like turned into kind of a serious thing, and back to being a meme thing now. That we've got going on. Big fan, and I think we'll continue to lean into it a little bit more. But we'll see how that manifests specifically down the road. Oh my goodness, would you just die already? Make me use my abilities? Ugh, come on. Alright. In my experience with different classes, I'm having a breeze with getting a ranger spellcaster build online rather quick, and it is quite easy to dodge stuff. With melee build, I find it quite hard to get defenses up at the same time with offensive stats. Any ideas to buff melee builds, hybrid endurance affix? There's yes. I don't want to say yes specifically to what you're like a hybrid endurance affix necessarily. There's the whole ranged versus melee consideration is a very important thing that we do look at and are making some changes to in general, like just as an overarching thing. Oh, 1 LP Sanguine Horde. Don't mind if I do. I really wish my belt had more potion slots. What I want. More potion slots. Yeah, our stash is getting big enough that we're starting to get a little laggy when we open it. Can't wait. That's fixed on main on our development branch, and can't wait for that to go out. Ooh, nice health one. What was I talking about? Oh yes, melee versus range stuff. Yeah, there's getting the theming and distinction for melee and range stuff. Because range is just such a natural, huge boost of awesome when it comes to survivability, and quite often what dictates the like meta builds are usually what can do the most damage. Not always, but usually. So having the like defensive tools available feel different and play different is I think really important. Oh, come on. There we go. I just saw something that reminded me of another crafting change we're doing. I'm not going to tell you about that one. But you can look through the footage of what just happened and try and figure out what reminded me. Probably too extreme. Yeah. Should have known that's what it was. Okay. Hello. I just love having uniques to change up a build. Diversity on class. Thanks for doing these on Fridays. Even on your time off. No other game developers do that I know of. Yeah. There's I'm sure there's got to be some others that do it. But I do love doing this. Frequently, I get told, I'm like, Mike, stop doing stuff like this on your time off. go have time off, and I'm like, yeah, but it's fun. If I was in my time off, and I could stream on my personal account, and anyone would actually tune into that, I would. So I just do it here so that people will actually listen to me. And because I like putting up teasers. April, and we're looking forward to season 2. Just wish it was sooner. Any Weaver Will spoilers? They are my favorite items. There is some Weaver's Will stuff happening because I mean it's pretty Weaver focused patch. I should have not tried to go into this. Try to catch it. It's okay. It's a pretty Weaver's Will focused patch right now. So Weaver's Will. It's a Weaver themed expansion pretty heavily, which I mean should be pretty obvious by the if you haven't seen the info on the roadmap we just released, it is pretty heavily Weaver themed. What did I miss back there? Oh, I gotta speak with him? But I don't like talking. I just like cutting down the enemies of Eterra.
Yes. Eterra's grace be with you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's like a couple little really important features that we really wanted to get into the patch. So we nudged it back a touch. Because we're not putting these in without enough time to test them. And then we're like, can we really release this patch without this feature? Disappointing. Tricky thing with that is you gotta be careful you're not doing that forever, because you're like, oh, just add this one more thing. I push it back a week. Add this one more thing. I push it back a week. You gotta draw the line somewhere. And we've had to cut things that I'm like, I'm disappointed we've had to cut, but I think was very wise. Because doing 30 things amazing is better than doing 35 things pretty good. Alright, more questions. I'm sure you've already heard this, but a recent, still very fun release makes me appreciate LE's approach to things like crafting and changing builds even more than I already did. Well, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying Last Epoch. And I'm glad you're enjoying other games too. We've been talking about PoE 2 a bunch here, and I've been playing it. I've been having a ton of fun with it. I think it's been really interesting to see, because they are able to start with a blank canvas, ish. They're less beholden to PoE 1 than PoE 1 is to itself when making changes. And I think it's been really awesome to see the different ways they've gone to solve problems, the same problems that we've gone to solve when they've been like anchored to PoE 1 or not when they've done the same things in PoE, like done different things in PoE 2. Not making any sense there at all. Like they've solved the same problems in PoE 1 and PoE 2, and because they're able to start from scratch, they're able to solve those problems in PoE 2 differently than they're able to solve those problems in PoE 1. Got it. And I think that's been really interesting to see, especially from the standpoint of, I'm like, I've been in a development meeting trying to solve this problem. I think, like, in seeing with where they ended up with, I'm like, I have a pretty good idea on how that meeting went. You know, I obviously don't know everything, but sometimes it feels like I'm like, yeah, I get it.
Will not take me.
And it's been really awesome. I've been really enjoying it. And there's lots of things that like we considered doing ourselves, and we were like, we just don't have the like development capacity to do that, or we decided against it for some other reason. And like, I don't know, it's been really awesome to experience and see, and I'm stoked for the future of ARPGs in general. And like in our game and PoE 2 and PoE 1, like it's all just so great right now. I don't know. I can't remember the last time we had this many like new and exciting things in ARPGs come out ever. All right, is it a good idea to make top level items inevitable to get over time? I understand it feels bad when you break a 3 LP, but if it's just a time issue, then is it rare? Fantastic question. Oh my god, can you go ask this question in like every thread talking about this online, please? I don't know the answer to it. I think, but I think it's a really important point. And I think it's something that gets overlooked a lot. I think there is... I don't think having the absolute top tier best in slot items being inevitable is a positive thing. And this is part of the reason why we've developed our... it's just done. I'm just walking around for no reason. Why we developed our legendary crafting system the way we have. Because it gives these like the really interesting effects that go on these items are the unique effects that go on them, usually not the exalted affixes that get added onto them. Like this weapon I've got here, the increased melee attack speed being the best in slot affix to go on it it's just a stat bump. It's extra stats, but the exciting part about the item is all the other cool stuff it does. And so I think having these items that are like having thresholds to hit, have like a more consistent forward motion is really good. But having the absolute best in slot be inevitable. So we're talking a like if you could. What's a good example? Okay, here's if you could take. This gets suggested quite a lot on our forums, Reddit, all these places. And I've got one more thing to share with you. Oh my god. Okay, we're gonna put this up, which isn't gonna look that exciting at first, but I'm gonna talk about it in a second. Okay, so the serious thing that's brought up a lot is that if you have like if you put 2 0 LP items into a combiner, it makes a 1 LP item, and then you put 4 1 LP items into a combiner and it makes a 2 LP item, and then you put 8 2 LP items into a combiner and it makes a 3 LP item, and then you put 16 3 LP items into a combiner and it makes a 4 LP item. And it's like, oh my god, it's like you have to get a bajillion of these things because you're combining up the whole way. And it's basically like, you know, if you combine enough runes together, you'll find a Zod rune eventually. Yeah, it's billions of them or something. I don't know what it is. But like, yes, eventually there's a guaranteed way to get it. It's going to happen. And I don't think, I'm not a big fan of that. There's this way to get this thing that's just inevitable. You're like, you grind, you kill enough boars in the forest and eventually you'll get there. It feels kind of, I don't know. I think when I get an item from a system like that, I don't feel excited. I feel relieved. I think that's the difference, and I think I'd rather feel excited than relieved. Oh yeah. Okay. So let's look what's on screen right now. So this is all of the information about this node. There used to be something on this node that's been removed, and it's not immediately obvious, but let's assume for the purposes of this that all of the extra information is available. There's nothing like just hidden because we're not holding alt or something like that, but like all the information about this node is here. Everything is here. Let's see if anyone's figured out what's missing. So you're saying there's a secret B level? Oh my god, I wish. Yeah, there is no B level. The honey cake is a lie. Nice. Pause in the future. Oh, that's something I've loved about PoE2 is the pause, and it actually works internally, and it doesn't work in the client. Online, it doesn't work at all. CD, no, CD's not missing. This is a node that already exists in live, and there's something missing from it. So there's a slight change to this node. I think the live version, the mana cost is 12, and this version's 10. That's not what I'm talking about. There's something else that's been removed from this node. I cheated and looked it up. I looked it up too, and I couldn't see it at first even. See if I can crush through a couple questions here in the meantime, because we're getting close to the end of the stream, and I've got a few. Answered those. Do you think the new engine upgrade will make things like persistent zones? No, or sound/beacons and loot filter possible, or at least closer? It will have zero effect on any of those things. Seeing as the season is coming in April, will you be doing another small event like the Imperial Uprising while we wait? We don't have any plans to. Bro 87, sorry I didn't see your message. Got auto modded and it should not have been. I hope you weren't auto banned or anything like that. It just says held a message, so I assume it held the message, but you're fine. So you're saying there's a secret? No. Have you thought about placing useful information in more diverse places? I'm mainly thinking about how many shards you have showing on crafting window, affixes list on loot filter, etc. I don't think we've done. I feel like having the main place where they all are is probably the best way, but having them in more places would be nice. We need a mic appreciation stream where someone else from EHG plays Last Epoch and interviews you. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean we're trying to get guests on regularly to have as like, so it's me and someone else, because I know you guys hear my thoughts a lot, but you don't hear other people on the team. And there's lots of cool perspectives and cool things people do, and I think it would be really awesome to hear. I really want to get Sam on. I really want to get Kyle. I've had on a couple times. I'd love to have him back again. There's a bunch of people I want to have on, like music, art, animation, all sorts of cool stuff. I think there would be some really cool streams we could do, and we are working on that. That is planned to keep going forward. And there's gonna be an interview of that I'm doing for our next monthly Eterra monthly. So you'll get an interview. I'll answer some weird questions. Sorry if this question has been asked, but what happened with the whole Primal Hunt thing? It got pushed back. Because it was tied to the next chapter, and the next chapter got pushed back because people were like, Endgame! And we're like, okay. Alright, I'm excited about what you would do on set items. Oh yeah, set items. I'm really excited for the set item update. It's not like it fits really well into the gearing paradigm that we have. Hopefully that will come on season 2. Can we get a tease on what that would be? Not really. Yeah, sorry. We'll get some teases a little closer. It's not implemented right now, so I don't like teasing things too heavily until they're implemented. Are the set item changes coming in 1.2? As you mentioned, testing, have the delays and changes to timelines impacted the CT participation? I think we have probably more participation because we've had, well, right now a lot of them are playing PoE2. But there is we already have a CT build out. There's more going out, so I think we're getting more in total. Pause in the future. We'd love to do pause. Oh my god, it'd be so good. Will 1.2 come with a seasonal mechanic? It's gonna have define seasonal mechanic. Yes or no, depending on how you define it. Did anyone get it? The Divine Fury. Someone said Divine Fury question mark. I'm gonna count that as someone getting it. Yes, it now no longer has the alt text that says this node does nothing if you've taken Divine Fury. Ellie is my favorite ARPG. Yeah. And my biggest bet for the future. This game is wonderful. Satisfies my desire to kill monsters and pass the time in a pleasant way. Thank you. We're just about done on time. I want to answer all the questions. My question about the engine upgrade was that you often said in the past that persistent zones and sound beacons in filters are performance issues. The persistent zone thing is not a performance issue, no. I don't think I said that. If I did, I'm sorry. The sounds and beacons in the filter performance issue. That is related. But that's not an engine problem, if that makes any sense. If the engine upgrade doesn't help with that, can you tell us if you're working on those issues and how advanced they are? I don't believe we're working on either of those issues, and they're not advanced right now. The sounds thing is... It's not really a performance issue either. Neither of those are performance issues. They do have performance concerns, but the reason they're not in is not because of performance problems. The persistent zone thing is... I mean, we don't have a good way of doing it at all. But I mean, we were saying the same thing about that about procedural content generation for years, and that's on its way. So, other things happening first is all. Can you tell if the set items will keep their themes, or should I try the sets I'm interested in right now? The sets will when the changes to the set items. If there's a set you really like now. When the changes to the set items happen, you'll still really like the set, and if anything, you'll just like the set more. So yeah, I wouldn't feel pressured to try set items in the state they're in now, in fear that they're going to that something's going to go away. Oh, you mean it causes Divine Fury to do nothing? No, I think in the past, Divine Fury caused Siege Barrage to do nothing, right? This node... Oh, sorry, yeah, you're right. Okay, so in the past, it said this node causes Divine Fury not to function, right? So Siege Barrage no longer causes Divine Fury not to function. That's the change. And also 2 less mana cost. So big win. Any plans for WASD movement? We would love to do WASD movement. WASD movement's one of those things that is, it's so deceptively huge of a task. It is a mammoth undertaking that is kind of needed to be designed from the ground up when you're starting the game, which is why PoE 2 has it, because I think that when they started making it, they're like, we're gonna put WASD movement in, and they designed their whole movement system to work with WASD movement. Even the mouse movement, you can see the influences of WASD movement on the mouse movement. Like if you shoot something in one direction and then you click behind your character, he'll actually walk backwards for a little bit first, which is fantastic. But like that feels like it stems from WASD movement being a thing in the game, and so like we have to change a lot to make WASD movement work, like a lot. And we'd love to put it in. I don't want to get anyone's hopes up on like time frame or if we're doing it or anything like that. It's one of those things where we're like, if we had a magic wand and we'd be like, WASD movement's in, we would, but we don't, so it's not. Yeah. Last few questions. You skipped my question about placing affix count in more diverse places like the crafting screen itself or the affix list for loot filter. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I don't like this number. Placing count in more diverse places like the crafting screen itself or in the affix list for loot filter. I mean, okay, in the affix, it's in both those first two places, but not. The count is here, so it's in the crafting screen, and it's in the materials list, so it's right here. And then you want it in the loot filter itself. Oh yeah, okay. I think that would be a good place to put it. Yeah, tying into that data is not terrible. Put in the suggestions forums. I know you know the drill. Will having a full set make us glow like Super Saiyan? I don't think so. I think that was a really cool thing that D2 did, where the sets were like 6-piece sets, made you glow, things like that. That was awesome. We're putting a little less emphasis on large complete sets, so I doubt we'll do that. I would love to see some little subtle effects like that. I think I'd prefer the effects to be more specific per set, so like having some set that's like based around some minion giving a visual effect to that minion or something like that. I think I'd more prefer specific effects per full set bonus as a thing if it was really tied into a specific thing. Any plans to make static difficulty content be able to give competitive amounts of favor as monoliths so players aren't discouraged by the opportunity cost of not spending that time in monoliths? Oh, like dungeons giving a bunch of favor or something like that. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. We need WASD movement. I mean, do you have a good 3,000 dev hours you can help us put that in for? I don't know how long it would take, but yeah. I think it's the development time for WASD movement is so vastly underestimated. It's animator time that we need the most of for that. It's like our entire animation team needs to take 2 patches off, which would be devastating for all the content we try and add. All right. What about? Do you prefer playing with camera smoothing on or off? It so depends. I usually turn it on, and then every once in a while I'll turn it off, depending on the game. But we're talking about last. Do we have camera smoothing in Last Epoch? I don't even know if we do. Doesn't look like it. What about large, low-level sets that look like segments? That would be sweet. I don't think we're planning on that either. Toxic. I do not have any. If you can't get through to support, send them a new message. I know it's not intentional. I know they've been replying to everything that's come in. There might be something like getting lost somewhere along the lines. You can try messaging mod mail on our Discord as well. But I can't help you with any support stuff. I'm sorry. And Kane's got better information than I do right afterwards. Thanks, Kane. Yeah, there's, I guess, a ton of awesome stuff coming. 1.2. I'm really excited for it. I wish I could talk to you about all the details. There's certain things that are on the edge of getting cut or added right now based on if we think we can get them done or not in time. It's a huge process, and I'm really excited to share it all with you. I hope we have even more awesome stuff to share next time. I hope we have a new guest next time. But I'll be back. I had fun. What is it? I hope you had fun. I know I did. I'll be back same time, same place next week. And if I missed your question, I apologize. It was not intentional. Please head on over to our Discord, Ask the Devs channel. Always a great place to leave questions. I'll do my best to answer them quickly. There's tons of helpful community members that answer them as well if I'm not around. And yeah, I think that's it for me. We're just gonna. Let's go talk to this person. Oh, as a fellow Canadian looks like streaming. Oh yeah, hey bud. Yeah, I had a ton of fun today. This is a good stream. We'll see ya. Drink lots of water.
Here. Oh, I didn't know.